This flower is called the cereus flower, C-E-R-E-U-S, okay? Now, this flower only blooms at night, okay? This flower only blooms at night. Species of this flower is the Cereus grandiflorus. This flower only blooms once a year at night. Isn't that crazy? Is that not the craziest thing you've ever heard? A flower that only blooms once a year and only at night. Many of you are like this flower. You're waiting. You're telling yourself, you know, once I get my grades higher, then things will be better. Once I get past my first year, then I can start doing these things that I want to do. Or once I get that summer associate job, then things will start happening. We're constantly waiting because we're constantly fear of failing. Maybe this first semester didn't go how you anticipated. And in your mind, you're thinking, I'm not good enough. It's not my time. You know, I just need to wait it out and I'll get it on the next one. I just got to wait my time. This is the perennial blue star. The perennial blue star blooms all year round. Not just once a year, not just at night, but all year round. The perennial blue star doesn't wait. Doesn't have to wait for anything because it blooms all year round. And that's kind of the mentality that I'm asking you guys to have, which is stop waiting. Don't wait. Now, you may look at me and say, Parag, that's easier said than done. So I'm going to give you some examples of not waiting. I used to love dancing. Love dancing. When I was in college, I did all kinds of dancing. I did like hip hop, R&B dancing, you know, and I grew up in a small town in Arkansas called Blytheville, Arkansas. And I went to college in Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. And I did all kinds of little hip hop dancing and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. But you know what they say? If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So I hopped on a plane, went to New York for the summer, took some dance classes, and said, you know what? I'm going to go to the Apollo. I'm going to go to the Apollo, and I'm going to dance at the Apollo, and it's going to be awesome. And because in my mind, that's how I'm going to be famous. We're going to get famous, okay? Get to the Apollo. And the truth is, here were the thoughts that were going through my mind. I shouldn't go to New York. What am I thinking? That's ridiculous. I'm not good enough yet. I need to wait till I'm really good or something, and then I can go there. But I didn't wait. I went ahead and performed at the Apollo. And guess what happened when I went to the Apollo? I got booed off the stage. I got booed off the stage, and the Sandman came with the hook and took me off the stage. Talk about all the doubts I had coming to life. I was devastated. I was like, I told you, Parag. I told you. You're not good enough. You shouldn't have done that. That's ridiculous. Why did you do that? I said, I can't wait. I can't wait to bloom. You got to go out there and you got to try to bloom. Now, after that, I could have stopped as well. I could have said, you know what? That's it. Learned my lesson. I'm not a dancer. And that flower is dead. I'm not going to put any more effort into trying to keep that flower alive. But I loved it. And I kept doing it. And then, at the age of 37, last year or 2 years ago, in our jurisdiction in Georgia, in Atlanta, they had this Dancing with the Stars thing. And they asked me to come dance with a professional dancer and do a dance. And did it. And so I'm going to let you see it. I didn't stop waiting. I just went for it again. And that time, I didn't get booed off the stage. And it took maybe 37 years for me to bloom back again. But I never stopped. I never let one experience or one setback tell me that it's over, that you can't bloom again, because all of you bloom all season long. Liz and I in law school. This is Liz and I in law school, and when we were in law school, like I said, I wasn't the smartest person, okay? Didn't do well in school, and when I went to Atlanta, Liz came with me. She came with me to Atlanta, and we practicing down there, and I'm at the public defender's office. That's where I started. I was 25 years old. I looked a lot like I do today, except a lot more fit. That's not true, not fit at all, still the same, okay. And I'm at the public defender's office, and I'm representing this client. And so there is a whole gallery of people behind me that I'm representing. The jury box is all filled with lawyers. I'm representing a man who's probably close to 40 years old, and then I have the judge. And I'm arguing on behalf of this man, and I'm arguing, and the judge says, "Mr. Shah, are you sure that's what the law says?" I say, "Okay." "Yes, Judge, 1 second, let me check." I go back to my table, and I look at these big 300-page horn books, and I'm trying to look for it. And people that know me know that when I get nervous, I sweat in the face. I don't sweat anywhere else, but I sweat in the face profusely. So I'm sitting there, I can't find the answer. I start sweating in the face. The client's looking at me like, what's going on? The gallery's looking at me like, this guy's gonna be my lawyer. The jury box with lawyers are all laughing at me. I just come up and I make something up, and the judge goes, "That's not it." I find in favor for the state. Client loses, I'm sitting there sweating, they're laughing, and at that moment, I could have said to myself, I'm not cut out for this, I don't need to be a lawyer, what was I even thinking, I'm not ready, I need to do some more work, I need to do this, do that, whatever. Okay? And I said to myself, well, I'm not gonna wait to be ready. We're gonna try to get ready now. So every night, I would read the cases and read the law, and I would put it on these little note cards. And I would use these note cards in court. And a couple of lawyers came up to me and they said, "Oh, those are some interesting note cards you have there. Can we get a copy?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem, no problem." So I go to Kinko's and I say, "Hey, I need 10 copies of these note cards." And because it's Kinko's, it was some ridiculous price. Kinko's, please don't sue me. It's some ridiculous price. And the guy at the Kinko's table said, "Why don't you just make it into a book?" I'm thinking, that's a great idea. I've never written a book before. I can barely write. I can barely read, okay? And so I'm thinking, God, all right, well, let me call Lexus up and say, "Lexus, I got a great book idea. It's a little pocket book on criminal law. What do you guys think?" And they're like, "Pocketbooks? No, we don't do pocketbooks. I'm sorry, no, is there an index? No, we don't do that." I call Wes. "Hey, Wes, I got this great idea. It's a pocketbook, it's criminal law." And they're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm 25 years old. My name is Parag. Shah. I just graduated from law school." They're like, "Are you a judge?" I'm like, "No, but I have a cousin named Judge. He's going to be working. It's going to be fine. It's fine, totally." And they were like, "No, we're not doing it." So I'm like, this was a stupid idea. I mean, that's a stupid idea. I'm not going to write some book. I just came out of law school with some note cards. This is absurd. I said, I just need to wait till I become somebody. When I become somebody, then I'll go write a book. But that little voice in my head who made me go to the Apollo said, no reason to wait. Bloom now. Start blooming now. You're all year round bloom flower. That's not really English, but it works. So I got a book on self-publishing, realized all of the publishers use this program called Adobe InDesign, went to Emory for 6 nights, learned how to use it, self-published the book, designed the cover by putting all our treatises and horn books on the floor, made the cover look like theirs, so subliminally you would think, oh, it's got to be legit, it looks like all these other books. And I self-published the book and sold it out of my trunk like CDs. And that book is called The Code. And since that time, I've done one on civil practice, evidence, and it's now been out there for almost 10 years that I've been self-publishing the book and just doing it. Now, has West ever called? No. Has Lexus still 10 years ever? No. But if I waited for them to call me, I would never have done it. Sometimes we're waiting on someone else to tell us it's okay to do something or to be who we want to be. We want that validation from the people around us because we think that's what we need. There are no rules. You can do whatever you want to do. You can be the best version of yourself if you can stop waiting. If you can get out of your own head and stop telling yourself, I'm not ready, I can't do it, I'm not good enough. I think I've always loved to talk to people. But look at this.
As Mr. Edison says, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Well, that is all the time we have for today. So join us next time when our guest will be Albert Einstein. That is all for today. Thank you. Goodbye.
That is ridiculous. Do you want to know why I did that video? In our school in Blytheville, Arkansas, we used to have a Channel 1 News type of thing, and all the cool kids got to do the Channel 1 News thing, where they got to be on there and talk and do the different stories. And they didn't ask for an audition tape, okay? But I did one, right? So I sent this ridiculous piece of work in, and as you can imagine, I didn't get to do the Channel 1 News thing. Looking back, for good cause, okay? But I was devastated. I said, this is ridiculous. Why am I talking in front of people? Why do I even want to do that? All those different things. I don't want to speak in public again, and I wouldn't. I shied away from doing plays and all kinds of different things because that one moment in my life, someone had told me that what you put out in the world wasn't good enough. And you need to wait till you're good enough before you can come back and do that. Well, we don't want to wait. And you shouldn't have to wait. And through a number of different circumstances, I ended up being on the Nancy Grace Show. And I did legal commentary on CNN on Nancy Grace for years, and then I just did it recently for Crime and Justice, Ashley Banfield. Now, if I showed you my first clips from Nancy Grace, we would probably say the same thing.
Number one, I'm saying okay, maybe I'm the crazy one here. Chloe Mala, senior reporter.
When I started doing Nancy Grace, I used to get tweets and emails. Tons of them. Now, as you can imagine, I may come off as a very confident guy, but sometimes it's hurt to get criticism. Things like, you're scum, or you sucked, or you were terrible, you shouldn't be on TV, all kinds of different things. You get tweets like this all the time. I could have said, you know what, I'm done. I don't need to be doing that. That's crazy. I don't even know why I went on there. You know, they're right. I'm not as good. And if I look back at some old tapes, I agree with them as well. But you're not like those flowers that only bloom once a year, that bloom only at night, only when all the conditions are perfect in your mind. You're the perennial flower. You bloom all year round, and you keep going. And every disappointment in your mind, or every failure that you feel, is one more step to where you keep going. We got to stop waiting. You just got to stop waiting. You don't need anyone to tell you you're ready. But if you need to hear it, then I'm going to say it. You're ready. You're ready. How many of you have seen the movie Rounders? So for those of you that haven't seen the movie Rounders, Matt Damon plays Texas Hold'em poker, and he gets in deep with the KGB, okay? And he's trying to win his money back that he lost, and he only has a certain amount of time. He's playing KGB. And so he just won a lot of money to make him basically break even, so he can pay back his debt and move on with his life. And he's walking out the door, and the KGB guy says, "Oh, that's it? You're done? Just gonna just play it safe, and that's it? Just walk out of here?" And he says to himself, the smart thing to do, the safe play, is to walk out of here. It's to take the money that I've earned, I've broken even, I'm good to go, I just need to walk away from here and be done with this. But then he said to himself, you can't lose what you don't put in the middle, but you don't win much either. And he went back in there and he played. It's hard to believe in yourself. It's hard to believe that you're ready, especially when everyone around you keeps telling you you're not. And we can think of 100 different scenarios as to why we're wrong, why we can't do it, of all the things that we could lose, but if we don't do it, then we won't lose it. But then you can't win either. I believe in you. Because when I look at you, I see me. I was sitting right where you're sitting, thinking all the same things. The only difference is, I didn't have someone come up here and tell me I was ready. And maybe there's nobody out there will tell you you're ready. But we're going to change that today. We're going to change that today. Because you're going to tell yourself that you're not going to wait any longer. That you're ready, and you're going to do all the things that you want to do. You're not going to wait for someone else to come along and say what you need to hear, because you're going to tell it to yourself. I believe in you. Okay? And thank you all for this opportunity. I think that's all I have.
You could date me now.